Are you like most agents in the US right now and you just have so many buyer clients and you're like, man, I have no idea why I'm even doing this anymore, or like how to even take care of these clients? Like, it is not a great year to be a buyer's agent. Well, this is the video for you. I'm going to cover all the things I've learned and even some tips on how I've gotten homes for really tough buyers who just don't have big pocketbooks. So let's get into it. What's up, everyone? My name is Cameron Hodge, an agent with eXp Realty. And on this channel, I talk about everything from how it is to be at eXp Realty, the joys that it's brought in my life, and my journey as an agent moving into the future and the past years and the experiences and everything I've learned. And I am always getting reach outs from agents, team leaders, broker owners who just are looking to speak with me and my partners, and I absolutely love it. So if that's you, give us a call, text, email, whatever you have to do, or even schedule a Zoom call down below, and I have your back when moving to eXp Realty. Also, hit like, subscribe, and the little bell icon to be notified every time I drop a new video. So getting into the video. So if you're like a lot of agents, myself included, especially when you're not in a big team, you're not handing off buyer leads, or maybe you run a team and you're like, man, I need to find out a way to instruct my agents on how to be better buyer's agents. So this is just some things that I've learned. You know, I think in the beginning, like most of us, especially because of COVID, when it comes to buyers, like we're just really like, oh man, I need listings. I want to be a listing agent. And like, don't get me wrong, like that is a huge leverage point because you can have more listings usually than buyers. Clearly, like there's no one contesting that. I'm not contesting that. And listings are always a great marketing piece as well. Also, if you have listings, you can sometimes help your buyers. You know, I've had, buyer referrals come in that are closer to, like 2 million, and they have a big budget, and they're like, look, I'm looking for a home and on the beaches, well, within a couple blocks of the beach anyways, for 2 million in San Diego. And I'm like, I'm looking for some help. And you're like, oh, thank God. I finally got a buyer who has a big pocketbook and is able to move in. And then, I also have a lot of buyers that are veterans. So I'm a veteran myself, and it's a huge part of what I do in my business. And most of the time, they're not strong buyers. Like, they can get a loan, they can qualify, they can pay for closing costs, and they have a little bit extra, right? But that's it. They can't go, 20, 30, 40, even 50,000 over like some of these homes that have been going for this last 2 years. And it really makes them a hard position. Not to mention, some are just completely misguided when it comes to VA loans. I'm not going to go on a rant here, but they're completely misguided, and they're like, look, they're just weak buyers. They have no skin in the game. Look, it's whatever. But it's really hard to be a buyer's agent right now. Now, in the beginning, I would sit there and I would just complain, and I'd be like, man, I just need listings. I need listings, and I got some. And, like, it's just a position where you're like, oh man, I'm just going to focus on this. And, you just try, like, someone reaches out to you, like, I'm looking to buy my first home. And you're like, ugh. But I've learned, I'm like, you know what? I need to get proactive with this. So obviously, I've started to get back in routine, becoming a better agent, trying to break through that average barrier my last year and trying to like double the business this year. And one way to do that is, like, I have these buyer leads. They're all qualified, and like they're willing to shop and look for homes. And it's, I think the biggest thing is, one, I think I've started to get way more honest, last year heading into now on my buyer presentations when I have that initial sit down with my buyers. And one thing I've been doing, actually, I think that's helped tremendously, is if they don't have a preferred lender, even if they do have a preferred lender, I have a 3-way Zoom call with all my buyers with my preferred lender. And we sit down and we have an honest conversation about them, their situation. Sure, the lender will set up a separate meeting to talk about their financials to a point, but I give them the honest truth about what they're getting into in the market, the good, the bad, the ugly, and just setting everything out in the open. And then also I've started to mention like some options that I've started to toy with my buyers, and even just had an amazing success story with one of them, which I'll get into in here in a second. But it's, setting the expectations up front, making sure you have a set schedule of when you're communicating, when you're staying in touch, and how this whole process works. Whether even if they've been buyers before and they're selling a home, whatever, it doesn't matter. It goes the same way, because a lot of sellers are nervous to be buyers because they're like, yeah, I can sell my home for top dollar, but what am I going to do on the buy side? And it's kind of handling that objections up front and being like, look, like in this market, like I'm seeing an average of 60 days. If they're not like a crazy strong, like cash heavy buyer, like it could take 60 days to even get into escrow. And it's a situation where I've started to lay it all up front, and I think it's had a tremendous results with buyer fatigue. And bringing that up, it's like, hey, remember we talked about this. I told you what it would be like. Has anything not been what I told you to expect? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, no, this is great. And if there is that one offer, like, no, I just don't feel like, then we'll sit down, have another meeting again. Like, hey, what are you feeling? Like, what are your concerns? Like, what do we need to do to make you more comfortable? Or, if they really just want to drop out, then they drop out. That's okay. Not going to hold anyone to it. But, I'll get into the story here is I had a military captain who was looking to buy a home, and it's been about a month and a half, searching, which isn't crazy long. Some buyers have definitely been sitting longer, and we were just getting destroyed. So this was in, Temecula area in Southern California. It's crazy competitive, and it's really tough. Him and his fiance were trying to get their first home. They're trying to get established, and like they were pre-approved up to $700,000. And they had a good firm, like they were able to get the loan, but they were just getting beat, competitive. I was pre-scheduling inspections, making an offer, working with my inspector, scheduling inspection contingencies, be 3 days afterwards. Like, we're going to get in there. It's already scheduled. Let's go. Let's get into it. And unfortunately, for those of you who do know, you can't, there's always an appraisal contingency. Like, you can waive appraisal, but on the VA addendum, you can always end up, getting out of the appraisal, because it's kind of like you can't really waive it with a VA loan. So unfortunately, they kind of fought against them, and they were just getting beat out. 10, 20 offers. One home had 30 offers that we were competing against, all well over asking price. And they almost dropped out. What was funny is the week they dropped out, or they were about to, I ended up saying, look, sit on it for 2 days, and then I'm gonna reach back out. We're gonna have a conversation to see how you feel, because I'm always a big believer that you sleep on it. If it's a big decision, you sleep on it, and then we'll have that conversation. In the meantime, in that 2 days, I realized, I'm like, look, am I doing enough? And I came to the conclusion that I was not doing enough. So most agents are looking on the MLS, and if you're watching this and you're one of them, look, it's great. Obviously, the MLS is there to be a tool. I decided to look off market, and I started, I already was incorporating some cold calling. I'm like, okay, so let's look at their criteria. I was not calling for sale by owners. I was looking, and nothing had come up to that point, to be fair. But I realized, I'm like, no, I need this. And this is like, it only happens if I'm scheduling it. So I scheduled it in my day, every day. I'm reviewing the for sale by owners, not just a couple times a week, but every day. And I'm also looking in past expireds. And I also started sending out yellow letters to neighborhoods that we lost on, trying to prospect on that end. So obviously here in California, I'm able to double in both deals. Also my license in Florida where I operate, you can't necessarily be a dual agent, but you can be a transaction broker. It's a little bit complicated, but there's a lot of ways to get around it. So, but also one thing with my buyers I've started to do now since having the situation is the buyer broker agreement. Obviously you should be signing it anyways, but it really starts in this market. I think it has a huge place, and I just wasn't listening to, professional buyers agents really, that were definitely better than myself in this market. And that is like, hey, so I'm looking for off-market properties, but there are situations, especially for sale by owners, like you're going to find someone who just does not want to pay me. I'm willing to put in the work and represent you. Are you okay with paying a 2.5% commission? If I find a property and they just refuse to pay out of their proceeds, and I haven't been turned down yet, because they understand. It's like, look, do you want a home? Yes, I want a home. It's like, okay, this is what my offer, and this is what I'm doing to earn that commission from you if that situation does arise. Like, I'm not just sitting here expecting money from you. I am deserving of that commission, and here's what I'm doing every day, and staying in touch with them. And lo and behold, a for sale by owner came up. Thankfully, yes, he was willing to work with a buyer's agent. I immediately toured it same day, and we were in a situation where we only ended up negotiating against one other offer. And it really came down to that he didn't want to do a roof repair. So my buyer is willing to pay for that roof repair, and we won. And it was at market value, nothing crazy. The seller still won because he got more than he thought he would. Most for sale by owners I've noticed are a little underpriced. Being a fiduciary, you lay everything on the line. I can still offer to help him, represent him, or hey, oh yeah, I want to represent myself. Fantastic. I'm still going to get my commission. Just understand, you talk to your attorney, whatever. Every state's different, so make sure you work with your broker to make sure you're doing everything that's legally responsible to do for your state. And that's a big thing, because obviously it's a weird situation. But now we're in escrow. I can't talk obviously too much about that right now, but I got a buyer who maybe wasn't the craziest, strongest buyer, but now they're getting a home. a seller is happy, and it was making that connection. And really all my buyers now, like it's literally what I'm doing, is laying this out in the open. And my goal here by the end of this year is to really start turning some of those more serious buyers that aren't super strong and making a win-win scenario for everyone, and just making, just rinse and repeating this story. And that's something I think that every buyer's agent should be doing in this market. And there's a lot of ways to make your offers competitive. This video isn't so much about that. It's realizing like buyer fatigue is real, staying on top of that to make sure they understand what's going on, but then looking off market. And there's a lot of ways you could do letters. Like I run YouTube ads to a city area to generate listings. I have, like the cold calling, like looking through past expired for sale by owners. And really, I think it's an exciting thing to keep moving as this year progresses. So overall, it's just be an unconventional agent. I don't think any of us join the industry, or at least most of us don't join just to be average. I mean, when I joined EXP, that's the same way. None of us want to be average. We want to be exceptional. We want to give the best service to our clients. So really, after all the things I talked about, it really comes down to be unconventional and just make the deals happen. Find solutions. We are problem solvers. That's what we do. Yes, people are like, oh, you help us buy and sell homes. No, we're part therapist, part problem solver, and this is what we do and day in and day out. I think in fully fulfilling that promise that we make to our clients and making sure we have the systems and processes in place to make it happen will not only, it just sets you apart from the rest of your competition. And it's, as technology gets better, as things progress, we need ways to stand out as agents. I think this is one of those huge ways, because it's standing out. Have like that value proposition that you're able to exemplify for people. Now with the situation I just have, I've been able to pass it along to some buyers who were falling out, and now they're coming back stronger than ever, because they're like, look, this is great. I'm ready to go. MLS, on market, off market, let's do it. This is amazing, because now I have proof and how something worked and how great it turned out from my buyer. So, if you watch this, you're like, man, this is what I want to do. I want to be around people like this. That's how I was, and that's why I joined EXP, and you're thinking about making the jump, reach out anytime, days, nights, weekends, call, text, or email. I'm happy to have the conversation with you about this, or even just talk about the situation I just talked about and what happened and what I found out. So always happy to do it. Without that, I will see you in the next video, and take care.